Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to send out a quick video update about an extra credit opportunity slash also a learning opportunity slash also a way to keep you occupied. I have been speaking to a few of you, and I've heard a lot about people telling me that they're a little bored, they're lacking some motivation. They feel like distance learning feels really tedious, and I totally understand. I'm right there with you. The motivation can be really difficult. I too feel like things feel a little bit more tedious than normal. So I decided that I would push out the World War I journal, not as a mandatory assignment, but rather as an opportunity for you guys to try this out. It is for extra credit. It is usually people's favorite project out of all of H9, and I would highly recommend you take a look and you try it out. I think it's a good way to check your understanding about World War I. Of course, the history teacher in me needs that, but I also honestly believe it's a really good use of time, especially since we're all quarantined and staying home as much as possible. So this project requires you to make a World War I diary. And the really cool thing about this is that you get to be truly creative. So you are going to create a persona. You get to pick the age, the country of origin. You could be a nurse fighting for France. You could be a high school student about to go to college, but now is drafted in the war. You could be someone in the United States staying on the home front. You could be the mother of Gavrilo Princip. Like, you could truly be whoever you want to be. You can base it off of a historical character you research, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. One of my favorite ones from last year was that somebody was a British reporter that was reporting on World War I. And I thought that that was really awesome. So basically, you are going to create a journal like this. And if you click on this link right here in World War I, where it says extra credit assignment, it'll bring you to this page where there are some details about what this is. And there's two worksheets that really go through what this project is about. Let me pull them up really quickly. So the first one that I wanted to show you is the basic overview of the prompt and the instructions. So let me move my little screen. Here are the must-haves. Now, I modified them. So if you are in period 6 and I already introduced this project to you, just note that there are a few changes to make it a little bit easier. So the must-haves for this extra credit project is that you have to address all parts of the prompt. You have to use historical content vocabulary, a minimum of 2 per entry, and you have to underline those vocabulary skills. Now, if you want to go a little bit above and beyond, again, you're going a little stir crazy, you want something else to do. A couple of the stretches that I want to point out is that you can have an artifact attached with every single journal entry. Let me show you how this student did it right here. An artifact could be a news report. It can be a picture. It can be, let me see, more pictures. Let's take a look at how somebody else did their artifacts. It could be a letter. Ooh, it could be a letter you've received from a friend. It could be a poem that you have written. There's a lot of different things that you can make your artifacts. It could be a propaganda poster. Ta-da! So there's a lot of options for what these artifacts can be, and really their purpose is to be relevant to your journal entry. So, for example, one year, one of my students was pretending to be a nurse, and she was talking about the supplies that she's frequently using, the types of injuries she's seeing, and her artifact was a piece of gauze that she had taken from her hospital. So, one of the other stretches that I wanted to point out is that you could also use English narrative skills that you've been practicing in Mrs. Guy and Mr. Rowe's class. And those are on the prompts. So, if you're like, I don't know what narrative skills you're talking about, they're on the prompts. So, it'll give you an idea of what you can do. Now, as of right now, there are 3 entries that are supposed to be before the war, 3 entries during the war, and 2 entries after the war. So ideally, you'd want to create a journal that has a narrative to it, right? You're setting up your story, you get to the peak of your story, and then you have your resolution, just like you would in a movie or a book. The project is due by May 25th, so it will actually go beyond the World War I unit. So you do have time for this. Maybe you give yourself 1 entry per week, and that should be plenty of time to actually complete this assignment. And then those key content vocabulary words that I was talking about are right here. If you think of another word that you think is justifiable and you really believe that it could be in there, go ahead and use it and underline it. And I'm sure if you're that dedicated to the word, it'll fit and it'll work. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Obviously, we are doing distance learning. In an ideal world, I would love it if you could actually make some kind of journal. Notice this person coffee stained or tea stained her journal and then just stapled it. That's totally fine. And you can do something like this. Now, if you decide to submit a final journal that looks like this, just take pictures of all the pages. However, maybe there's an opportunity for you to kind of just like drop it by my room, considering I'm coming in here once or twice a week. And yeah, however, the other option is, though, you could just do it online and share it with me. I know it's not as creative or as fun, but if you're not really the creative type and you don't want to have to make a journal that looks like this and you rather just do it online, then you can also do it online. I would recommend you try and do one like this, but that's kind of my personal preference because I think it's really fun to see how you guys decide to make them. And then lastly, there is a rubric for you to use. Notice that the narrative strategies are a stretch goal. The artifact is a stretch goal. If you turn this in, really what I'm looking for is that you have some kind of final product that is put together, can be online, that you have a explanation of the cost of total war, and that you accurately describe historical events, okay? If you complete the assignment, you can get up to 10 points extra credit for content and 10 points extra credit for process. The other page that I wanted to show you, come on, is this page right here, which kind of just has the prompts and the learning targets right there so that you can see them a little bit more clearly, like so you exactly know what this prompt is supposed to address. It even includes the standards so you know exactly that this isn't just a creative project. It really does have a meaning for English and history. So you can see the learning targets are all here for English and history. Again, I'm modifying it for it to mainly be a history project now. But on here are all of the prompts, starting with journal entry 0. So for the writing prompt over here, it gives you some historical context before the prompt, but let's take a look at journal prompt 0. A friend/family member has given you a journal as a New Year's gift. They thought it would be a helpful space for you to write down your ideas, feelings, and daily routines. Your friend/family hopes that this journal will be a great place to reflect on your life and emotions. So notice that the date is January 1st, 1914. At this point, if you remember correctly, World War I has not started. There might be some tension building, but Franz Ferdinand and his wife are alive. None of the specific actions have been taken. So the prompt is, in order to start your journal, you have decided to introduce yourself. You have a feeling you will reread your journal in the future, and therefore you want to remind your future self what your life is like in this exact moment in time. You may want to include your current likes and dislikes, your future dreams and aspirations, your family life, and basic details about your family members. What stressors you are currently facing, information about your social life, such as best friends, significant others, and clubs/organizations you are a part of. Reminders. Your character can be any age, gender, and nationality. So therefore, try and write your journal entry based on that basic information. So journal entry 0 is really just setting up your character. And then as you move forward, the prompts are a little bit more specific, asking you to get into a little bit more detail. So that is about it. All of the prompts are on here. Some of the prompts might not be super applicable to your character. Feel free to modify the prompt so that it is, okay? I truly hope that you decide to try it out. So the last thing that I'm going to do is kind of flip through some of the examples. These are all students from last year. So things like this. So if you want to see more examples, maybe just let me know and I can take some clearer pictures. I really hope that you use your time to try and maybe explore a little bit more of some creativity in your life. And notice that this person did it handwritten, but you can always just type it, print it out, and put it in the journal as well. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I highly recommend you take advantage of your time, challenge yourself, and try and motivate yourself to do this. Other than that, have an awesome day, and I will see you later.